I know you guys probably have tons and tons of questions for these two, and I'm going to come to you in just a second, but I wrote a couple just to get us started that we're going to ask them, and we're going to hear a little bit about the podcast. Make sure also that you subscribe to the podcast. We're not doing this just so I'll get drunk for free. Subscribe. Let's start with an easy one. What made you guys want to start this podcast?
Okay, check. Well, this is my podcast.
That's her podcast.
I'm just kidding. But it is my podcast. But yes. So funny story, we tried to start a podcast 4 years ago.
About 4 years.
And we recorded 3 or 4 episodes. It was called The Wise, which was a play on words, the wise. And we never aired it. So I think that was probably because this was going to happen and be much bigger. The answer for me, no one else thought that was funny. It's so much better by myself. I love you. No, truly though, I lived a very private life for a long time when it comes to what happens in our bedroom or in other people's bedrooms. And it got to the point where, being a coach for a long time, I started to see many people in relationships very unhappy, and listen to the work of amazing, therapists and thought leaders like Esther Perel, who talk about, creating desire in relationships and leaving space so that you can really see the other person as new. And I started to coach a lot of clients to this, and I realized that I can help way more people than I ever imagined by sharing my story, to give people sort of a positive person, at least I think that I'm doing it well, to look at and see an example of non-monogamy that's very healthy. And that's sort of what was the tipping point, because I never wanted to be public about this. In fact, Pasha was very open about it from early on, but we kept everything very secret because of me, because I had a lot that I didn't really want to reveal to the world. So that's kind of the answer to that question.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
And I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
So you're saying you were very private at first.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like coming out to people? And
Who's the hardest to tell? And that's the end of that question.
We're gonna say who's the hardest.
And who's the hardest to tell?
Okay. Well, so we gradually came out to sort of our friends and our family and our close community. Also, like when they see you on an app, really funny story, which I share in the podcast, but our old neighbors, we used to live in a duplex in West Hollywood, and the girl who lived above us, we became really good friends with her, and one of her friends, who had been at a barbecue of ours, saw Pasha on Tinder, and she was devastated, because she thought that she was going to break up our relationship. She thought, that she was going to wreck my marriage, and she had all this guilt, and so she waited a week, and then we were having another football, we used to have people over Sunday for football, and she told our friend Omri, and Omri was like, if Pasha's on Tinder, Jessica knows. And she was like, no, this does not work like that. This is not some guy code. I'm not going to take that for an answer. And he's like, no, I promise you, if Pasha's on Tinder, Jessica knows. And she's like, I don't think so. So she storms around him and comes and tells me, and I'm like, oh, let me see his profile. Is it good? Is he doing good?
Change the pictures.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these pictures are terrible.
what was your face
I'm
like?
not going to get any girls with these.
She came in with a ton of energy. She was like, girl, you need to know something.
Yeah, and it's so sweet, and I'm so grateful, because yes, if you see one of your friends' partners on Tinder, you should absolutely tell them.
Yeah.
So with little mishaps like that, we slowly but surely let all of our amazing friends know, because our friends are incredible. I mean, you're all in this room and so supportive and so loving, and no one really batted an eye, actually. And then I think the last people that we felt, we needed to tell, of course, were our families.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
What was that like?
that was a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
Which my family is so supportive, and I don't know why I was ever nervous, but I think, at least for me, I never want to cause anyone pain. And I was concerned with my family. I'm from the East Coast, very sort of conservative in some ways, liberal in others. But I never want someone to think you're gonna bring shame on our family. That was what I was so stressed about. And both of my parents were like, You're crazy. As long as you're happy. You've always kind of been the crazy one, the weird one in the family. But just do you, kind of thing. So.
Great.
Do you want to answer this one?
On how was it coming out? Yeah.
How was it coming out for you, and who was it?
I never really cared, right? I'm an open book about everything, so I don't really care. And I have this philosophy of, you don't want to be in my life, well, I don't want you in my life anyways. You know, and so it is what it is. Obviously, out of respect for Jessica, the relationship, I wouldn't share it as much as I wanted to. Coming out to my family's like, huh? Like, they're supportive, but they don't get it, right? Like, conservative Persians, they're like, how does it work? It's very, like, old school, Middle Eastern. I'm happy for you, but is Jessica gonna do anything? And so it was,
that's what they all want to know.
yeah, so, but they're like, it makes you happy. So, it was a lot easier on me.
Yeah. I felt the same way when I came out to my parents that I'm a comedian. They're like, so what, you're just gonna be poor? Okay, so you guys are in an open marriage. Do you guys experience jealousy? Still?
How can you not?
Yeah, on occasion. It's rare now, but we do.
And how do you cope? I do want to hear from both of you.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of the last time that I was jealous. It's been a very long time. I think in the beginning, we coped by setting up like really great agreements and boundaries that would help us feel sort of safe and secure to navigate these things, and really processing your emotions. Like if you're jealous, even in a monogamous relationship, and you don't talk about your jealousy, you're gonna stay jealous, like forever. So, you know, in our relationship with opening up, and you know, we weren't just like, hey, we're open. Like 7 years ago, we had an accidental threesome, and we were like, we want to do that again. And so we slowly but surely.
I'm sorry, accidental?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Wait a minute, what is she doing here?
I masterminded. She said accidental. I say I masterminded.
We
Handsome
will.
and evil. Fun.
Yeah. Speaking of the accidental threesome, Miss Ginger Banks, who's sitting right back there, episode 1, we unpacked the accidental threesome. It's phenomenal. The threesome was also, but the episode's great. But we gradually became open. We started like monogamish with things like that were very curated, or we were on vacation, or lots of like happy accidents because I mean, we're pretty good looking, so we're going to a bar. But the jealousy thing. In the beginning, we had to set up a lot more sort of boundaries and agreements, and we would do one thing at a time, and we would go really slow, and then we would check in and see how that made us feel. It wasn't like, we're open, see you later, let's not talk about anything. We talked about everything and over-communicated. And eventually, if you talk about an emotion enough, it will go away. Emotions just want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be felt. And for me, the objective is to really dig into the jealousy and see what's there, what's under it. Because my jealousy has nothing to do with him. Like, his actions might be a trigger, but it's actually just an invitation for me to see, like, where do I feel inadequate? Where do I have insecurities? Am I afraid I'm going to be abandoned? And I would rather work on that and get rid of it so that I can live the next 100 years not feeling those things. Because if you never do, you're going to feel those things in whatever style of relationship you're in, or even as a single person, potentially. So eventually we took our boundaries and we started to peel them away, because the whole point is to do something that feels a little risky and get comfortable with it and get out of your comfort zone and constantly be evolving in that way. Yeah? Jealousy?
Pasha, you want to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. If I have to. Jealousy is a natural part of being in an open relationship. It's going to happen. I think what's really great about Jessica and I is that we've done so much emotional work, personal development. It's not like, hey, I'm jealous, don't do that, right? It's, hey, I'm jealous, but I'm going to tell you where it's coming from. I was abandoned when I was younger. You're the person I love the most. I'm afraid that you might like someone better than I. I'm triggered by this. And so we're able to go really deep, and we're able to uncover why I'm jealous. And then the byproduct of that was I got to tell Jessica and vice versa how to love me better. How do I feel important while we're having this open lifestyle? And so it actually brought us closer together. And that's why we're in this open relationship together. When we have a sexual experience outside of each other, it always brought us closer together, so we really loved it. That's why we're in it in the first place. But jealousy is gonna come up, but there's a distinction between jealousy and a dislike. And we got to decipher that pretty quickly with the work that we've done. So that's why if jealousy comes up, it's kind of an invitation to go deeper. So that's how we deal with it.
Yeah, it also sounds like we can applaud. That was great. It also, like, and just from what I'm hearing in both of your answers, is that when things come up, instead of being accusatory, you go, this is coming up for me, and you can talk about how this is just not helpful. You can talk about like what's coming up for you instead of being accusatory. You just be like, I feel this way, and it's allowing you to get closer.
Of course.
That's great.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a question for them? Just raise your hand or shout it out. Okay, yeah.
Is the girl that you had the threesome with at this party? I mean, you're talking about the accidental one, right? Clarifying question, yes.
They're all here, but it's a scavenger hunt. You have
Yes.
Check under everyone's shoes.
We have another question? Right here.
How would you share it with your kids?
Oh, great question. I'm going to repeat it so everyone hears it. This lady right here wants to know, how would you share this with your kids?
Well, and we've talked about this. We're going to share that we have other partners and we have an open relationship. It's not like we're going to say it when the time comes up, we're going to be very open about everything, but we're going to try to be in a very responsible way. We're also going to do it in a responsible way where we're not going to be throwing it in their face and say, deal with it. We're going to say, hey, listen, sometimes this is what we do and this is okay for us. And to just be really open about it, because I think kids are a lot smarter than we think, and they're going to be able to learn and adapt to whatever they want. So, but yes, absolutely open book on everything that we do, for sure.
Yeah, just to add to that, because I love this question and it's something that we've talked about a lot, put a lot of thought into. I think like most parents who are dating, you wait a long time to like introduce partners to your kids, especially if they're going to be a really big part of your life. And so there's that element, but also I think that anyone who's, obviously we like go on dates, but then we have people that become like a part of our lives that are, a very big part of our lives. And I think those people always add more love and add so much more value to our children's lives as being like aunts and uncles, that I would sort of, because that's what it does in our relationship as friends with like each other's, other lovers. So I would never want to sort of keep that from my kids. My one concern was depending on where we live and our kids going to school, right? If they would be made fun of or targeted or bullied in some way. So that's like a big concern. But we live in LA, so everybody has 2 moms and 2 dads and 3 cousins.
Wife swapping parents. Yeah, everybody's got their
So.
Anybody else have a question? Way back there with the glasses.
How do you balance desire for your primary partner with desire for other?
Great question. How do you balance desire for each other, for a primary partner and other partners? It's like anything else in your life that you make time for, and you want to put effort into, like your health, right? Like going to the gym consistently. Really putting dates on the calendar, taking solo trips, having like a third partner for a long time in our lives taught us a lot about how to create that balance and how to have harmony, because it does require effort and work. And some people are like, well, you shouldn't have to like schedule it in to like, be with your partner, be alone with your partner on your calendar, but absolutely you should have strategy, because it's so important when you put your attention and focus on something. And the interesting thing for us that's really great, and I like wish this for all other couples who want to be not, play into like non-monogamy. When we're with other people, it actually makes us want the other one so much more. So we've always been very turned on by the idea of the other with someone else, or like also being in that experience. And so anytime one of us is with another person, when we come back together, our sex is so new and hot and fun. And I think it's also really fun to see your partner. I've been so lucky to see Pasha be really flirtatious and and be like loving and in love with other women, and I get to see him in this. It's like almost having a front row seat to what it was like when we started as a third party, and it's really special to see your partner light up in that way that you haven't seen, and because the newness, of course, is going to wear off, and we create a bond that's longer lasting and gets even more special with time. But the cool piece is like, oh yeah, like that's the smile that I used to make, and when something's brand new, which is really fun. And obviously, what we have, I think, grows stronger because we allow all of that into our lives.
Yeah, the best way I think I would answer that is that, I love newness energy. It's awesome getting to know someone, exploring another person, having that sexual connection with them. And that's awesome, but there's nothing like being in love with your partner and having sexual desire for your partner who you're madly in love with. So the reason why we've gotten into this relationship or of being open in a relationship is it always brought us closer together. That's why we do it. But she's my number one. And that is very cemented. I think that allows us to have this relationship. So as much as I love exploring others, I'm a guy. It's in us to want to do that. Same with women as well. But at the end of the day, there's nothing better than Jessica, right? And that's the kind of relationship I have. We have the greatest sex ever, and so it just enhances it, really, But I will say, I always say with a caveat, not every open relationship is like that. There are some couples we've met that you can tell that one person wants it more than the other person, but that's not how we operate. We operate because it becomes us closer together and it enhances our sexual.
We have time for one more question. You look so excited to ask. Go for it.
So my voice is down, but I'm trying. So if Pasha decides to see the same person more than 3 months, is that considered cheating or still a open relationship?
Oh no, it's still open and very welcome. I actually it's interesting, without being specific about people, Pasha's always had a very, I want to date women style, but not really get serious or committed with anybody. And I'm very much more, I was going to say quality over quantity, but
We'll unpack that later.
That was just for fun.
Oh, really?
But I think for me, I like consistency and intimacy and to develop over time. And I think all styles are amazing. But about 2.5 years ago, Pasha did really fall for someone, and I was so excited for him to allow someone else to really care for him and love him, and to continue building a relationship with someone that turned into something really beautiful. So I was really excited for that. It's odd, I wasn't nervous at all in the way that I have been with previous things or earlier things. And no, we're very much open and welcoming to other partners, and that's the difference. There's a lot of different ways to be open. There's polyamorous, which is when you identify, or your preference is that you can have and share and potentially be in love with multiple partners, which is scary. It's scary for a lot of people, and I think there's still some fear there, for you with polyamory. Maybe, I don't know. Sometimes, okay. I'm talking about it sometimes. But I think No, and I can't ever see a world where that would bother me. Yeah.
I guess the best way to answer that is that the underlying philosophy that we have in our relationship, for us specifically, is that we're very much the biggest supporters of each other. So if that's a desire and that's what we want to do, and if she wants to fall in love or I want to fall in love, okay, how does this work? Let's figure it out. So no, it's not considered cheating, but it's always something that we're always willing to explore, whatever it is, because our general philosophy is, why are we in a relationship if we can't be ourselves at all times? And this side of exploring others is just a byproduct of human biology, in my opinion. And so we get to be supportive of that. And if there are feelings that come up with other partners, that's something that we're willing to explore and see how it feels, whether jealousy, dislike, or whatever, but we're gonna figure it out together. So nothing's off the table. We just take it with a lot of communication, a lot of trust, that the primary reason we're in this relationship to do this is that it's gotta bring us closer together, whether that is introducing another partner or not.